coils as well. US does also domestic futures, again in HR coils, in NYMEX, under CME. So this can summarize that the steel future is really going to work or not. My parallel to that would be like nuclear energy. It is required. Whether it is not used properly, you can make a nuclear bomb and destroy it. So from a steel industry perspective, that's where I come in, from the industry player. That definitely, like last presentation we had, last session we are having, Steve brought out a very important point about most of the steel usage is in projects. Whether it's construction projects, infrastructure projects, fabrications, and most of the projects have a large gestation period. Like normally it is from 12 months to 36 months, even longer. How more we can justify not having a future if your product is going to a futuristic use, like a project where you are going to give a quote based on deliveries starting from 6 months until 36 months, and you don't know how to do that. You don't know at what price to buy. Your supplier is not willing to quote you more than 3 months delivery time. Your buyer is looking at you for giving a firm quote which is going to be valid for 36 months. So how are you going to work it out? Definitely you have to have futures trade that is going to provide you the hedging mechanism which is required by the end user perspective from a trader point of view. There are some reservations from the production people, producing companies. But that is always the case when there is a future trade which starts. There is always a reservation from the producing companies because the setting of the price moves away from them. It moves to the market forces. Market forces decide the price rather than the producing companies. And that, I think, we're talking about the aluminum futures. If I'm not wrong, aluminum futures is now 30 years old. But for the first 10 years of aluminum futures, there was reservations from everybody concerned. And it took almost 10 years for the futures to really get liquid and really get traded in big volumes. To that extent, I would say the LME reaching 1 million tons of steel in the first year itself shows that the industry is ready to accept this concept and ready to take it forward. So my point is, it's like nuclear energy. If it is used in a proper way, it's going to pay the dividends it is supposed to pay. The industry needs it. The cyclical nature of the industry, the end use of the product which goes into projects primarily requires such a hedging mechanism. Yes, we have to set the proper regulatory mechanism so that it is not speculative in nature. It doesn't get into, like we talk about, $500 billion of trade happening where the actual trade is much lower. It should not get into that kind of situation. That's why the delivery mechanism which is there in LME kind of protects against speculation, because if you cannot sell by that time, you have to deliver. You have to deliver into a physical warehouse. So that means you are limiting your trade only to the physical availability of the product. If you cannot deliver, you are not trading. So that's the way we are hedging against this speculation. And I think there are other points which I would like to point out at this stage, probably from an industry point of view. It's like we need to have more awareness of this steel futures. Steel futures is, I mean, everybody thinks that, oh, non-ferrous futures have been there for ages, so the steel futures can easily start up and run. Steel industry is very different from a non-ferrous industry. It's much older, much bigger. We're talking about $1.3 billion metric ton of steel production every year, as compared to 35 million metric ton of aluminum. So you're talking about two different industries and two different paradigms. So I think the industry requires much more awareness and knowledge and skill upgradation, because most of the producing companies, the sales people or the buying companies, the purchase people, they have been traditional people. They have been buying steel in a very traditional manner. They are not exposed to how to take advantage of this tertiary markets like the futures offers to make their bets. So we need that kind of skill upgradation in the industry to understand how to use this. Yes, those things are required. We need to, now it is a very ideal time that 1 year has passed with LME, billets, and 1 year has passed on the Dubai part. Shanghai is talking about it, where are the futures after the 1 year. So I think it's very uptime to actually get the industry more road shows, through having seminars like RBS, if it is the brokering agent for LME in Singapore, probably RBS can conduct a seminar for the industry players to make them more educated about what happens when you take a futures, how it goes through the whole physical process, how much is the cost involved, is it too costly to take a future contract as regards to my profit margin, how much it is, so we need to answer those questions. But I would just leave it at this moment, the thought of saying that steel futures are here to stay because the industry needs it. What are the regulatory mechanisms we need around it is what we need to guidance from the guys who are already into non-ferrous metals and how that has been taken care in the system already, because it is in the beginning of the learning curve for steel industry. So we can learn faster if we can take some of the good systems which have been put in place for non-ferrous metals, which can be brought in immediately for the steel industry. So the industry doesn't have to wait 10 years as aluminum did and start running up and running in 1-2 years time. That's where I would like to.
Let me put a perspective and